Most people think empires are built by geniuses. They're not. They're built by one person who noticed something everyone else walked straight past, then refused to let it go. Google started with a thought so plain it barely sounds like a business. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, two Stanford PhD students, noticed that web pages linked to by more other pages were probably more reliable. That was it. That was the whole thing. But Yahoo had already turned them down when they tried to sell it for $1 million in 1998, calling search a side feature. By 2002, Google was growing so fast that Page and Brin offered it again, this time for $3 billion. Yahoo said the price was too high. By 2004, Google went public at $23 billion. Today, it generates over $200 billion a year in revenue. Not from search, but from advertisers paying to appear inside it. You use the bar for free, the advertiser buys your attention, and Google keeps the money. Yahoo, the company that passed twice, was sold to Verizon in 2017 for $4.48 billion. Google is now worth over $1.5 trillion, which is the most expensive side feature in history. Amazon began in a garage in Seattle in 1994, selling books, not software, not cloud infrastructure, not same-day delivery. Books. Jeff Bezos quit a comfortable Wall Street salary, drove across the country, and started there because books were cheap to ship, easy to catalog, and nobody had sold them properly online yet. But the idea behind the books was far bigger. What if the internet could eventually replace every physical store that had ever existed? For years, the retail side barely turned a profit. Wall Street thought Bezos was losing the plot. Then, quietly, underneath the shopping platform, Amazon built cloud computing infrastructure and started renting it to other businesses. Today, Netflix runs on it. NASA stores data on it. A third of the entire internet sits on servers Bezos built while everyone was watching the shopping cart. One garage, one box of books, now the backbone of the modern digital world. In 1980, IBM walked into Bill Gates' office needing an operating system for their new personal computer. Gates didn't have one. He bought it from a nearby company for $50,000, then licensed it back to IBM for a fee on every machine they ever sold. IBM agreed without fully understanding what they were signing because they assumed the hardware was the valuable part. Gates understood something they had missed entirely. Hardware gets copied. Hardware becomes cheap. But if you own the software layer that everything runs on, every computer sold anywhere in the world makes you richer without you building a single machine. Here is the detail that reframes everything. Gates almost sold the operating system to IBM outright for a flat fee and walked away. One different conversation and Microsoft probably doesn't exist. That near miss built a company now valued at over $3 trillion. Mark Zuckerberg built the first version of Facebook in a single weekend. Not months, not weeks. One weekend. The idea was almost embarrassingly simple. A digital directory of university students, photos, names, basic profiles. But Zuckerberg understood something about human psychology that no platform before him had properly used. People don't just want information. They want to know what the people around them are doing, thinking, and feeling. Every notification, every like, every comment was a small reward, repeated endlessly, impossible to ignore. Facebook didn't build a social network. It built a loop so effective that 3 billion people now live inside it every single day. One dorm room, one weekend, the largest captive audience in the history of human communication. Amancio Ortega looked at the fashion industry and decided the entire system was broken. 6 months to design, then manufacture, then sell, and if you predicted the trends wrong, millions in unsold stock rotting in a warehouse. His answer was to stop predicting entirely. Watch what people are buying right now, manufacture it immediately, and get it onto shelves within 2 weeks. 2 weeks, while competitors were operating on 6-month cycles. But there was a second trick hidden inside every Zara store, one most customers never noticed. The shelves were kept deliberately half-empty. Not because of supply problems, because scarcity makes people buy today, knowing it won't be there next week. Engineered urgency built into the store layout itself. That combination of speed and artificial scarcity built the largest fashion retail group on Earth. Frederick Smith wrote a university paper in 1965 describing an overnight delivery network that would route every package, regardless of destination, through a single central hub each night. His professor gave him a C. Smith built it anyway. In the earliest days, FedEx was hemorrhaging money so fast that Smith flew to Las Vegas with the company's last $5,000 and played blackjack. He won $27,000. That kept the planes in the air for one more week, long enough for a critical investment to arrive. Today, FedEx moves 15 million packages every single day, built on an idea a professor graded as mediocre and a blackjack table that paid out at exactly the right moment. Howard Schultz didn't invent coffee. He didn't invent cafes. He didn't invent anything that hadn't already existed in Italy for 100 years. In 1983, he walked into a coffee bar in Milan, watched people linger over a single espresso for an hour in a space that wasn't home and wasn't work, and realized America had nothing like it. But underneath the warm lighting and the seasonal cups, Starbucks built something most customers never think about. The loyalty app holds billions of dollars in prepaid customer balances at any given moment. People load money onto it before they've ordered a thing. That float, sitting in Starbucks's hands before a single cup is poured, means the company functions like a bank. An Italian afternoon became a financial instrument disguised as a coffee habit, now worth over $100 billion. Phil Knight started by importing Japanese running shoes and selling them from the boot of his car at athletics meets. His partner Bill Bowerman had one obsession: make the shoe lighter. He believed every ounce removed saved the runner enormous energy across a race. One morning, Bowerman poured liquid rubber into his wife's waffle iron to test a new sole pattern. It worked, but the waffle sole is not why Nike is worth over $1 trillion. What built Nike was a decision to stop selling shoes and start selling identity. Just do it is not a slogan, it's a psychological contract, the promise that buying the shoe connects you to discipline, to achievement, to the person you want to become. People don't buy products, they buy who they want to be. A waffle iron experiment became the foundation of one of the most powerful brand identities ever constructed. Jan Koum grew up in Ukraine, where his family had no telephone in the house. He came to America as a teenager, cleaned floors to survive, taught himself to code from secondhand books, and eventually built a messaging app that sent unlimited messages over internet data instead of SMS, meaning anyone in the world could talk to anyone else without paying the telecoms a single cent per message. People switched in their tens of millions almost immediately. WhatsApp charged users $1 a year. That was the entire revenue model. In 2014, Facebook bought it for $19 billion. $19 billion for a company making almost no money because what it owned was the daily communication habit of over 1 billion people. The telecoms never saw it coming. They were too busy counting cents per message to notice someone had made messages free. In 1970, IBM published a research paper describing a theoretical system for storing data relationally, connecting information across structured tables instead of isolated files. IBM wrote the paper but never built it. Larry Ellison read it, understood exactly what it meant for every business on Earth, and spent the next several years building the product IBM had described and then quietly forgotten. Banks, governments, airlines, hospitals, defense agencies. Oracle embedded itself so deeply into global infrastructure that replacing it became more expensive than simply keeping it forever. That is not customer loyalty. It's architectural dependency built deliberately from a research paper its own authors never bothered to act on. Oracle is now worth over $400 billion. IBM wrote the blueprint, but Ellison just turned up and built the house. Every single one of these empires started with a thought small enough to dismiss. A better way to rank web pages, a garage full of books, a borrowed operating system, a weekend coding project, a waffle iron, a $1-a-year app. And every single time, the person next to them either didn't see it, didn't believe it, or decided the price was too high. The idea was never the hard part. The hard part was being the one who didn't let it go.